And for more on Panama, I'm joined by Eric Farnsworth, Vice President of the Council of the Americas. Eric, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So focusing on Panama, it's quite an interesting dichotomy because you have 28% of the population living below the poverty line, yet the GDP has been particularly robust, hitting 10.7% last year. How is this happening?
It's the classic story for Latin America. You have a macro economy that may be doing pretty well, but a micro economy, in other words, everybody's individual economies may not be doing as well. There's a wide income disparity. It's traditional for Latin America. Panama actually isn't the worst case in the region, but it does have a ways to go. There's no doubt about it.
How wide is this income disparity?
Well, it is fairly wide, but it's narrowing. The good news is that Panama is a service economy, and after the U.S. Essentially left in 1999, Panama had to reconvert. It had been an economy that was built up around servicing the U.S. troops and the U.S. bases and things like that, and governments subsequent to that have put a lot of time and investment in terms of trying to develop technology, trying to lure investment, trying to improve education, but they really started from quite a ways down, quite a deficit, and they really have to bring it up.
But in terms of the numbers, how rich are the rich and how poor are the poor?
Well, I mean, if you give purchasing power, parity, they're not, the rich are doing pretty well compared to certainly their Latin America peers, even compared to some of the countries in the first world, but it's a narrow slice. And what Panama doesn't have yet, but it's growing, is really a robust middle class in the way that other countries across the region are growing. But the poverty folks, the folks in poverty really aren't doing that well. They need to improve.
Well, is the poverty mostly concentrated in the rural or in the urban areas?
There's some of both. You know, a lot of Latin American countries are agriculture-based. Panama really isn't one of them. There's not a lot of arable land. It really is a country that developed as a service economy, as a trading economy. So you don't have the same type of rural agricultural economy that you might have in other countries. And of course, urban areas everywhere around the world do attract a certain number of people. And if the jobs aren't available, if the education isn't available, then you're going to have pockets of poverty, and that certainly exists in the country.
But yet we've seen tremendous urbanization and development in Panama. The Panama Canal has been injected with billions of dollars worth of growth. Panama City has developed drastically over the last few years. Why is this not trickling down, and what is the government doing about it?
Again, it's not really a bad news story, but it's going to take time to improve. And the reason why is because Panama, again, is a service economy. It's almost unique in the context of other countries, certainly in Central America and elsewhere in Latin America. The country developed around the canal. It developed around financial services. It developed around legal services, things like this. These are sectors that are available to highly educated people. And so if you don't have the education, you're not going to have access to that ability to really make money. There are entrepreneurs in the country. They've done fairly well. The president himself is an entrepreneur. He actually his family owns supermarkets around the country. He's very wealthy. But this is something that's going to have to take continued time and emphasis. Social spending is going to have to increase. And again, I keep coming back to it, but it's true. You really have to concentrate a lot more on the education and really bring it widely available to all the citizens.
Well, the government's trying to take some initiatives and implement some reforms. What have been the more successful ones?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier the transition from U.S. military bases to really investment centers that are designed to draw foreign investment. They're trying to build what they call City of Knowledge, which is to develop technology, develop entrepreneurs, develop innovation, and they are drawing investment. You're seeing corporate headquarters.
Foreign investment is what they're dependent on.
Well, yes, and they're drawing that from other parts of the region. You're seeing U.S. investment. You're seeing Asian investment go to Panama because of its geographic region. It's situated in a place where companies can really put their corporate headquarters. And once you get your corporate headquarters there, you get your expatriate staff there, you get the services required from the local population, you hire middle managers from the local population, and it's self-reinforcing behavior. And that's what's happening. Now, again, more needs to occur, but they have, I believe, started on the right path.
Well, President Martinelli's government did try to have some initiatives with regards to raising the wages in terms of what we would call minimum wage. But that backfired. Why did that backfire?
Well, it's, again, the classic economic dilemma. If you have minimum wages that are high, people sometimes actually get fired, or you don't hire as many people because they're more costly. So, government intervention in economies can backfire, and I think this is one way that it happens. Again, Panama is not unique by any stretch, but it is, government intervention in the economy often does have unintended consequences.
Yet the good news is that the government predicts GDP of 8.5% for this year.
Right. It's again, the economy is a success story. It's going to continue to grow, continue to draw investment. The key is to make sure that investment and those benefits are widely distributed.
Right. Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much, Eric Farnsworth, Vice President of the Council of the Americas.